SmackDown took place tonight in Memphis, Tennessee, a great wrestling city known for its many stars that came out of its territory, including one who was in the crowd tonight. But we'll get to that later. So, also, before we get to the review, there was a lot of releases that happened tonight. I will address those after I get to the review. But to start off with the show, we had Jey Uso start on SmackDown just like he did on Raw. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, here we go. We're just going to yeet in for like 10 minutes. They fucking yeet. And I'm just thinking to myself, please let this end. I want him to lose at WrestleMania, but I know he's going to win. I know he'll win. So I'm just hoping the fans turn us because this is going to be every show. I can't take it. It takes up so much time. And, you know, the guy is just... he starts it, and he's doing it in the crowd. He's just, it's going on and on. The fans want it to, they chant one more time. It's kind of like, are you guys really here to see wrestling, or are you just like in here for a concert? It's kind of to the point where, I don't know. I'm just so sick of it. Some people compare it to the Yes movement. I think that was more organic. I just feel like with Jey, I don't know. Maybe I'm outside the loop here. Maybe I don't get it. But he's in the ring. The fans love him. I'm not going to deny that. They really are into Jey. He calls up Cody Rhodes to the ring as he's making his decision. Him and Cody are being very friendly. The crowd is really into the both of them. They really don't turn on either of them. And Cody's basically telling them, if you want to choose me, you can choose me. We're still going to be friends, but that ends at WrestleMania. And then they're interrupted by Jacob Fatu and his lackey, Tama Tonga. The fight ensues. Tonga's kick so fast. He's like such a joke. Jacob stands strong, but he gets taken over the top rope. And it sets up a tag match. It seems like every single week on SmackDown, this happens. There's a fight, then there's a tag team match. It's kind of like the spirit of Teddy Long never left SmackDown. I'm kind of waiting in a way where they just have Teddy Long's music hit, where he announces, "Playa, we got a tag team match." This happens every single week. It's cut and paste, man. It's like whoever's writing the script is just cutting and pasting. Next, we go to an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. You had Bianca Belair taking on Piper Niven. This was okay. Bianca, we all knew would win. I think the whole spot people wanted to see was Bianca lift up for the KOD. And in the end, she did it. She picked up Piper Niven. She had her up, and she hit a KOD 1, 2, 3. Great spot. Backstage, we see Nick Aldis with Kaden Carter and and Katana Chance. They're on SmackDown now. Then you had, by the way, I was kind of half expecting to see their names on the list tonight. You had that loser Carmelo Hayes talking to Nick Aldis, and it's set up for a match later tonight with him and Akira Tozawa. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that would never be announced for Raw. Like that match at that with such low caliber names, man. That's definitely SmackDown's the B show again. DIY cuts a promo on the Motor City Machine Guns. Then he had Pretty Deadly interrupt them. Basically, the DIY was almost setting up like a 10-bell salute for the Machine Guns' career and their title opportunities. But the Pretty Deadly interrupts them, and then Nick Aldis comes out, and he makes an impromptu tag team match playa. And it's set up where we have DIY in their street clothes against Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly wins when they grab ropes. I'm kind of thinking to myself, are they going to get pushed as a heel team? As a face team? Because in any, smart city, that's, hardcore wrestling fans, DIY is definitely going to get treated over Pretty Deadly. But DIY is not that over anyway, so it is what it is. Miz continues backstage to recruit Andrade, who is now divorced from his wife, Charlotte. By the way, if you didn't hear that news, Miz sees Cody, tries to stir doubt about him losing to Jey. Didn't care about this at all. I don't see why Miz is still on my television screen in 2025. You've been here almost 20 years now, Miz. It's time to go off into the sunset. I'm sorry. I don't mind my story. He's made so much money, man. It's like, just go away. Drew McIntyre's out for a promo. He trashes Raw. He says he's happy to be on SmackDown. Jimmy Uso interrupts. Drew mocks him for basically being inferior to his brother. He says maybe he should have said yeet first. He could have been a bigger star. Jimmy cuts a decent promo, actually. And I kind of thought to myself, is Jimmy actually better than Jey on the mic? Because that's what it seemed like here. It was actually pretty good. He actually showed more charisma than Jey does. He doesn't have the heat or anything, but like the way he was doing it, I thought it was actually pretty decent. LA Knight comes out, he mocks Drew, and then he sets up a great new catchphrase that the fans are going to say, Drew McIntyre. Here it comes, McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Jimmy Uso, triple threat match for the Elimination Chamber spot. So Drew's mocking the crowd. He actually, during the break, this is for international fans, not for you American fans, but Drew grabs a table, all the fans boo, and he just tosses the table back inside, under the ring. That was actually a funny spot. He actually took that spot from Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 when he did that. They had a very entertaining match. I thought this was probably the best part of the show. Drew hit this really cool double Claymore kick when LA Knight had Jimmy Uso. I think one of them was set up for a DDT or something. And Drew hits a double Claymore, takes out Jimmy, and then it basically hits LA in the back of the neck, in the back of the head. He pins LA Knight, which surprised me. I thought Jimmy would get pinned, but I don't know if that's a good thing for LA Knight's status with the company right now, but he gets pinned by Drew. Backstage, Byron Saxton interviews Damian Priest. He mentions Drew winning the title. That's the match at WrestleMania. I think that's pretty obvious. And by the way, I forgot to mention, Drew stormed out. He mentioned how in this promo he stormed out of the Royal Rumble. I'm kind of thinking to myself, they're trying to add that into the storyline in a way. And supposedly he was a little upset that his match with Damian, he's wrestling Damian Priest at WrestleMania. And to him, it's kind of a step down from where he was last year with Seth. So it doesn't surprise me. But Bray, what did I say, Bray? Braun interrupted, and it's revealed that the triple threat match next week with Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, Drew oh my god, I'm messing up so much. Sorry. Damian Priest, Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu. They have award words. That match is going to be fun. It's a lot of chaos in that match, I assume. I think they'll smash barricades, smash stairs, go through tables. That should be fun, but Braun, I have to say, after he has the war of words with Damian Priest, one thing that really stood out to me was his stupid septum piercing. Man, get rid of that. You look so weird. You're Braun Strowman. You're a big, giant guy from, like, Wisconsin. You're a big, strong man. No one wants to see you with this damn septum piercing. You're not Rhea Ripley. It doesn't fit him. It looks so bad when he wears that. Anyway, they show highlights of Kevin killing Sami on Raw. Then he had Kevin basically cut a promo on his X account, and he's all teary-eyed. He's basically talking about how Sami Zayn allowed Cody Rhodes to almost kill him. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a match, like, you know, he's complaining about that. And then he sees Sami in the Rumble later, and he's basically saying he's going to make Sami pay. They announce, I'm just groaning about this feud. I don't want to watch this anymore. I'll watch any other matches besides this. I do not want to see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They've had a million matches together. Stop doing this match. I don't want to watch these two wrestle ever again. I'm done. I've seen a million matches. I've watched a whole bunch of them on the indies, watching them wrestle. Seen it so many times in NXT, a whole bunch of times on the main roster. They've had a match at WrestleMania in the past 4 years ago. I don't need to see them ever have another match ever together again. I'm done with that. I don't want to watch these two work anymore. Anyway, they announced Sami's out indefinitely. You had Carmelo Hayes and Akira Tozawa. Carmelo, before he mocks John Morant in Memphis, and he's basically Melo don't miss, and he mocks Morant for not making the NBA All-Star. Carmelo just wins the match. It's not much to it. Akira Tozawa, if he's away from Otis and Maxine Dupree, I don't want to talk about guys losing their jobs, but I would not want to pick up my phone if I were you, Akira Tozawa, because there's nothing for him to do here. So, as I mentioned earlier, there was a legend in the crowd, and that man was none other than Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis. Great reception from the crowd. He's waving to the crowd. He has his crown in one hand, and they love him. And, you know, he has the stroke, you can tell, but he didn't look bad. I don't think he looked really sick or anything like that. He's in his 70s, close to 70 now. Has to be. He's been around for so long when he first wrestled. But he actually is probably well over 70, actually. Yeah, crowd loved him. Of course, it's Jerry Lawler. He had the stroke, but, you know, he looked better than I thought he would. Than he thought he would next time we saw him on TV. I was expecting it not to be as good as it did, but he looked fine. R-Truth tries to help Tozawa backstage, where he runs into Jey Uso. And some quick chatter there. Then we see Cody Rhodes. Jay says he's undecided, but he really hints that he's going to choose Gunter. And everyone knows he's just here on SmackDown to tease it. He's going to team with Cody, and probably next, I don't know if it'll happen next week, but within the next couple weeks, he's going to say he's wrestling Gunter. Maybe they should wait till after the Chamber, or they could do a thing where they could hype it up, the winners facing Cody Rhodes, whoever wins the Chamber that night. I don't know, but we're going to get the announcement sooner than later. He's wrestling Gunter. Charlotte Flair's out, and man, what the hell was she wearing? She's dressed up like a prostitute or something. I don't know, what the fuck. Maybe it's because she's divorced, and her husband, her ex-husband, I should say, is backstage. She wants to wear that, make him jealous, I don't know. Anyway, the fans like Charlotte Flair. I think they overreacted in Cleveland. People like Charlotte. They don't hate Charlotte. The stuff you see online is very vocal, and there are people who are tired of her being pushed like this, but most people like her. I find her hard to dislike. I don't see any reason to boo her, and NXT liked her, and now SmackDown liked her, but she had to turn heel on the crowd to get them to boo her. And I got the impression they maybe overreacted in Cleveland. She mentions Tiffany Stratton's name, and she shows up, and Tiffy was certainly not a babyface here. She's just playing her original character. She says that nobody cared about Charlotte's injury more than the day it happened. She mentions how everyone always compared her to Charlotte Flair, and I think that's true, but I think a lot of people compared her to Mandy Rose as much. Speaking of Mandy Rose, her friend didn't do too well, and I don't think Mandy should be back in the company. I'll just mention this now, because there was controversy this week with Tiffany Stratton and Mandy Rose, who, as I said, I think Tiffany had more comparisons to Mandy than Charlotte, but her trashing Tiffany Stratton, and Tiffany responded and says it's basically sad that she had to mention her on her podcast, and I agree with Tiffy. Mandy made her own decisions. I don't think they need to bring her back. No reason to. And I actually feel a lot worse for her friend than I do Mandy, because I think her friend would have benefited if Mandy stayed around. But anyway, she's mentioning how everyone compared her to Charlotte. She really wants her to pick her. And then Charlotte says when she faced Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania for the first time, she was facing a kid. Now when she sees Tiffany, she sees a child. This was a really good segment. It built up the match. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I kind of want to see this. This is going to be a really good match. I don't know if it'll be as good as like Charlotte Rhea or anything, especially that Charlotte's coming off a major knee injury and Tiffany is nowhere near the talent Rhea is in the ring. But maybe you want to watch it. It's going to be a good match at WrestleMania. They're interrupted. If you don't know, my collective sigh. Took a deep breath. Nia Jax. Oh my god. I just groaned so loud when I saw her. She announces she's facing Tiffany for the title next week, and I'm thinking to myself, please let it be the end of it. But every time I think they're done with Nia Jax, they drag me back in. It's that classic line from the Godfather. It never ends with this lady. She's going to lose to Tiffy, obviously, but man, they'll never stop pushing her. Guys, there's a lot to say about nepotism in this world, and it's on full display right now. Anyway, Alexa Bliss comes out, and she gets another big pop. Obviously not to the extent of her pop at the Royal Rumble this last Saturday, but a good pop nonetheless. Bigger than mostly any of the top female stars here, to be honest. People really like Alexa Bliss. And she's coming out for a match, which is a qualifying match at Candice LeRae, who already came out with Nia Jax earlier. And sets up Alexa Bliss and Candice LeRae, Elimination Chamber qualifying match. This is Alexa Bliss's first singles match in 2 years since she lost to Bianca Belair 2 years ago at the Royal Rumble. Over 2 years, actually, since she first competed. So you had, during the break, Candice LeRae. She basically beats up a Lily Doll, but that's not on the main American feed. That was during the break, so I don't know how much they're going to do to Lily Doll again, but Alexa still has it, so it sells a lot of merchandise. That's the reason. But it had Candice beating up Lily. And the fans, whenever Alexa did some offense, they got into the match, and there was a cool Wyatt 6 tease during the match that was pretty obvious. And I thought for sure Alexa, the fact that they announced the Wyatt 6 for SmackDown, they put Alexa on SmackDown. She's in the Wyatt 6, and Anyway, I'll talk about the end of the match before I get into my thoughts on Alexa Bliss, her new role. She hits the Wyatt DDT, and that's, again, another giveaway that she's staying with the faction. She pins Cancel Ray. She thanked her after the match. You can see it. And I thought for her first match back, she looked pretty decent to me. And it's been 2 years, and she's coming off pregnancy, and I think she had like skin cancer for a little bit, but I think that was a while ago. But I thought she looked fine. Never really known as a great wrestler, like one of the Four Horsemen, but she was always decent in the ring, I thought. Anyway, she wins the match, and I've always been a big fan of Alexa Bliss. You can see the old LRMania videos in like 2017 when she was really at her peak. I always liked the Goddess a lot. Not a huge fan of Wyatt Alexa Bliss. That's not a bad reflection on Bray Wyatt. It's just that character was okay for the first few months. It was actually entertaining. Then it became like one of the worst characters on TV, and I get it. The Wyatt Six needs her. She's a bigger star than all of them combined, but kind of at the point where I would much rather see her as a babyface, get a good babyface run as the Goddess. I love the Goddess. Love the Goddess. Not a huge fan of the Lily, the Alexa Bliss. Not a huge fan, but I do like the Goddess. But I'm happy to see her back. I'm not going to complain that much because I like seeing her back. Anyway, Chelsea Green's backstage. She's with Piper Niven. B-Fab and Mishin interrupt them. And one of them wants a shot at her U.S. title. And then you have Zelina Vega up here. And I thought for sure it was Zelina Vega. Her natural role is with Andrade. Maybe they'll still go back to that and they'll put them back together again. But as of right now, I don't think she's going to do much as a star. And even before she joined the LWO, she really wasn't doing much as like a single star. I really hope with Zelina Vega, they put her back with Andrade because I thought that was her best. I loved her in NXT as a manager. Huge fan of hers. I thought she was super entertaining with Andrade. I loved their act together. I think if Andrade's going to do anything and she's going to do anything, they're best served as a duo again. I'd like to see them back together. But you had B-Fab and Mishin. Challenger and Zelina wants the match as well. So I guess, I don't know, a fatal 5-way. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to do some big multi-person match. Maybe a multi 7-8 woman match, fatal 5-way or something, fatal 6-way at WrestleMania to get a whole bunch of people on the card. I guess that's a spot for Chelsea Green because all the other women's title matches I think are pretty obvious now. For the WWE Women's title, it's Tiff and Charlotte. For the World Women's title, it really looks like it's going to be Rhea Io, even though Io might not be in the Elimination Chamber. She's going to get a shot at that eventually. Maybe it ends up being a triple threat. I don't know, but I find it hard to believe the way she's looked and how over she is and how good she's been in the last few months that she's not getting a world title shot at WrestleMania. I'd be really disappointing. And then it looks like for the women's U.S. title, women's Intercontinental title, looks like it's going to be Becky Lynch challenging Lyra Valkyria. We haven't seen Becky back, but that looks like the direction. So the only other singles title that's up in the air is Chelsea, so I don't know what they're going to do there. But anyway, Street Profits video package. They explain why they attacked the Motor City Machine Guns in DIY. They are upset of being overlooked or getting title shots above them. Then we go backstage. The Motor City Machine Guns are interviewed by Byron Saxton. Then Legado interrupts them. It leads to a confrontation. And eventually there's a tag team match next week. I kind of feel for Santos Escobar because all of the matches that his stable are doing are tag matches, and he's never involved. I don't remember the last time I've seen Santos Escobar wrestle. Guy's doing nothing. We got a video package hyping the triple threat match next week with Jacob, Braun, and Damian. Then we get to the main event, which was Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso against Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. Okay matchup. It was fine. There was a cool spot where Jacob Fatu gets thrown over an announce table. And then it ends with Cody Rhodes pinning Tama Tonga with Crossroads. And Tama Tonga. I don't want to keep talking about releases, but with all the people who were fired, if I were not being used and I'm on the lower card of the WWE roster, I don't know if I'd want to pick up my phone. We all know what happens to JTG, right? Damn, why did I pick up my phone? Anyway, I'd be a little bit worried. So the big angle at the end was Solo Sikoa returning. He hits Cody Rhodes with a Samoan spike. I thought to myself, fuck no, I don't want to watch this. If he's just back and it's not him and Cody, I mean, he's coming back anyway, that was fine, but don't make me watch Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Cody, I thought his title reign was dampened by that match. I thought it hurt him. I thought it made him boring because we all know he's going to win and he has a shit opponent. Don't make me watch Cody and Solo. I don't care if that's the match at Chamber. I do not want to see that match. Now, here are some news items that happened as the show was going on. This wasn't before the show. I'm sure everyone was informed they were fired before the show, or probably last night. That being said, all the news of the releases happened during the show. So here's what we have so far. Maybe I'm missing someone, and if I did, I'll probably have to talk about it on my Raw review. But so far, we know Cedric Alexander was the first name I saw released. Unfortunate. He's someone that really was hurt by the Hurt Business being broken up. Now they're doing this new Hurt Syndicate in AEW, so there's a spot for him. I don't feel too bad for him because I think he can land on his feet quickly. And also with Cedric Alexander, it's the fact that in NXT he was being used, he was being pushed like almost as a mid-carder or upper mid-carder, and the men's division sucks in NXT. That's the problem. I haven't really talked about that because I like the show so much. The women's division is awesome. It's the best women's division in the world. It's freaking great. The men's division kind of sucks, especially the men's heavyweight division. There's no one there. So I kind of thought to myself, why release him? But it's one of those situations when you're on the main roster and you go back down to NXT, your days are numbered with the company. That's never a good sign. And the most likely scenario is you being released. So that's how I put Cedric Alexander. The AOP and Paul Ellering, I feel really bad for Paul Ellering. Maybe they still bring him back as like a Legends contract or something. I hope they do because I feel for him. He was a great manager and legendary manager of the Road Warriors. Who I don't feel sorry for is AOP, who I thought phoned it in ever since they came back. I don't think they were that motivated to work in this Final Testament faction. And it was disappointing. It really was. They weren't the same guys you saw in NXT. When they were in NXT, those guys were killers with Triple H under his regime. They were just monsters. And I think the thing is, a lot of the wrestlers in NXT were always smaller than them. So when they stood out more as like these giants on the main roster, they're still big guys, but they don't have that same aura to them or that same presence. And that was why I think they didn't work out the first time. And then they got rid of Ellering the first time. They got released. That's when Vince fired half the roster. But now under Triple H, man, when they came back, there were so many times where it seemed like they were just standing on the outside. There was that WrestleMania match. They stood on the outside the whole match as Karrion Kross got beat up. It's not their fault, but it was just so weird. It happened every match. The guys just, it was the right move. They were doing nothing with them. They had to go. And they didn't seem like they cared. It seemed like they were phoning it in. Now, for the woman, there was Sonya Deville. I just felt bad for her. I like Sonya. I've always did. I hate the Pure Fusion Collective, in my opinion. One of the worst factions in WWE history. I think it's just fucking horrible. And that's why she was let go. And the thing with her more so than her being released is more of a situation of her contract not being renewed. And that's why she's not with the company anymore. They just chose not to renew her. And it's basically the same as a release. But I felt bad for her because I do like her, but at the same time, she's been with the company almost 10 years now. She was first signed in that Tough Enough thing in like 2015 or something, so she's been there a long time. I guess it was just time. She didn't really have much for her anymore. I think it was time because there's so many women coming out from NXT that it made sense to let her go, or at least not to renew her. And then there's the one I found most disappointing because I genuinely feel that she was never giving much of a shot. I feel that they didn't know what to do with her. Her call-up came as a big surprise because no one was really expecting it, and that's Miss Blair Davenport, who was released today. Unjust, in my opinion. They didn't deserve it. They didn't give this lady a chance. They did nothing with Blair Davenport. She was called up last year during the draft, and they did nothing with her. and she briefly teamed up with the Unholy Alliance, or whatever their name is, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. But they gave Blair Davenport nothing. And it really annoyed me. It really annoyed me because I felt just, if you're not going to have anything planned for her, you don't want to do much with her, you don't know what to do, don't call her up right away. Let her stay in NXT, let her get more over. There's plenty of women in NXT. If they were caught up a year ago, they would have probably failed on the main roster. Now the division's so stacked, all of them are probably going to have some success. And I found it disappointing because they didn't really... It just felt like she was just called up. It was someone who was there, and I don't know why. I don't even know why they called her up, man. They had nothing for her, so that was unfortunate. But those re-releases, that's who got fired today. There's going to probably be more. We'll probably find out more this weekend of people who get fired. I'll talk about it on my Raw review. And that was SmackDown. That recaps the show as we're on the road to WrestleMania. And speaking of WrestleMania, I may as well do this. Why not? So we have what's known as the WrestleMania football, or let's be real, WrestleMania is known as the Super Bowl of wrestling, and Super Bowl 59 is this Sunday. It's in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is most likely going to be the site of next year's WrestleMania. It's kind of funny because WrestleMania is in Las Vegas this year, and Super Bowl was in Las Vegas last year. So maybe they're just going to follow the Super Bowl every other year. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought to make a quick predictions. Why not? The big game. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I know the Chiefs are gonna try to do the three-peat. No football team has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row, I believe. So that'd be historic. I think the Eagles, however, win this game, and I'll say the score. I don't know. I don't think I need to say a score, so it might be off. I don't know. I'll just say the Eagles win, and I think all of America. It's funny because America is going to have to root for the heels to beat the bigger heel. It's like the heel bowl. That's the game. The Eagles are like heels against everyone except the Chiefs. Anyway, that wraps up my review, and we'll see what happens next. Hopefully this weekend we just enjoy a good game, and there's no more releases because it's really unfortunate to see wrestlers get fired. So that wraps up my video tonight, and we're continuing. I think we hit some bumpy roads right now. A few bumps, seeing people let go on the road to WrestleMania. We'll see what happens next.